Procrastination is a key form of self-sabotage, and it is one of the biggest reasons why so many people can spend their entire lives never making any real progress towards their most important dreams and aspirations. Luckily, there are many things that we can do to kick the habit and to stop wasting our time on all the distractions and things that just don't help us to create the kind of life that we really want to be living and become the kind of person that we really want to be. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the deeper reasons behind why we procrastinate and also steps you can start taking to get yourself out of the habit of doing it. Believe it or not, we don't mainly procrastinate just because we're lazy or because we don't really care about our most important goals, but it really has a lot more to do with all the deeper unconscious reasons that we have for not wanting to take action. And also, it's a matter of actually wanting to avoid some of the consequences, both good and bad, that can result once we do start taking action. On the surface, it may seem like we procrastinate as a way of avoiding work that we think is going to be difficult or challenging in some way, but this is actually not the main reason why we do it. Until we are willing to look at the deeper reasons within ourselves as to why we are avoiding doing the work that we know we should be doing, then it's very unlikely that we're going to commit ourselves to the daily, consistent actions that we know can take us closer to achieving our goals. Did you ever wonder why that even though we know a lot of the time exactly what it is that we need to be doing, we still can't seem to motivate ourselves to get up and to get started? For example, if you are trying to get fit and get in shape, then you probably already know that you need to get up off the couch and go work out, go to the gym, go for a hike or a run, go do yoga, or whatever preferred form of exercise you like. But the real question is that if you know that all these things are good for you and that they're going to help you reach your fitness goals, then what is actually stopping you or getting in your way from doing them? No one can really answer this for you better than you can answer it for yourself. But here are some of the most common reasons that we tend to procrastinate on all those things that we know we should be doing. The first reason is that all too prevalent fear of failure and all of the accompanying frustration and shame and humiliation that we feel goes right along with it. Very often, the fear of failure really stems from an even deeper fear that we're going to invest all of this time and energy and effort into doing something, but then still not to be able to succeed at it after all of that. The real problem with this is what we're going to start to think about ourselves if that does happen. For example, we might start to have a lot of feelings that we are inadequate or inferior or incapable or unworthy or a whole host of other really negative and limiting ideas that we might have about ourselves. Now, I just want to say right here that none of these things are actually true. And in fact, you are far more resourceful and capable and intelligent and creative than you honestly give yourself credit for. The problem is that when we let our fear do the talking, then it can make all of those bad things seem like they represent some kind of an absolute truth about who we are, which, again, I'm here to tell you is absolutely not the case. And in fact, very much the opposite is true. Another very common reason that causes us to procrastinate is that we may feel very overwhelmed or stressed out when thinking about how we're going to take on a really big or important goal. It's only natural that we would want to avoid feeling overwhelmed or not even knowing where to start or feeling like we're lost in a sea of possibilities. But of course, this is not actually an excuse not to get started. And later in the video, I am going to address some points that can help with this. Another big reason why we procrastinate that is actually a lot more common than you may think is the fear of success and everything that goes along with it. For instance, many times becoming more successful actually means that we become more visible and also more responsible. And if you have some subconscious programs or beliefs going on that make you feel like being visible is not a safe thing, or that by being more responsible, that means you're going to have less free time or less fun, you can see how there can be a whole host of beliefs attached to this that would make you kind of not want to be in a position where you became more visible or more responsible all of a sudden. This can also be related to what is commonly known as imposter syndrome, where we basically have this fear that as we start gaining more recognition, then we are pretty much inviting people to call us out and to expose us as being frauds or imposters. To that point, I just want to say right here that it's important to keep in mind that anyone who has ever achieved greatness or even become legendary has, of course, had to progress through all the intermediate stages of their growth and their development. But of course, that doesn't mean that they were useless or of no value to anyone as they were going through those stages of growth. Just put very simply, none of us can just shortcut from A to Z without going through all of the stages and letters in between. And you wouldn't want to anyway, because all of those intermediate stages, they help you, they're just a necessary part of the journey, and they are helping you to refine your skills and become a more evolved and masterful version of yourself who really is capable of doing great things. So seen from all these different perspectives, you might start to get a real understanding of how procrastination is not so much an avoidance of work as it is a subconscious protective mechanism that is actually trying to have us avoid real emotional pain and discomfort. Of course, it's only natural that we would want to move away from things that truly make us uncomfortable, but there comes a point where the price of procrastinating and not taking action actually becomes far greater than the price of just getting down to those actions that you know it would be in your best interest to take. On some level, we all know that there can be a whole host of rather serious consequences as a result of our unwillingness to take action, depending on our own unique circumstances and situations. I think that at a deeper level, we all basically understand that the circumstances and conditions of our lives cannot change until we first change. So the real question becomes, how long are you willing to put up with all of the problems and challenges that you are currently facing before you become ready to start taking those actions that you know are going to take you in a better direction? So now, with all of that being said, let's talk about a few practical tips and solutions that you can start to implement that can help you overcome procrastination and really get started on all the things that you really need and want to be doing. To begin with, it can be very helpful to kind of project out in time and go forward like a year or two or even 5 or 10 years into the future and really just have a good, honest, sober look at where you can realistically expect to be after that period of time if you continue always procrastinating and not getting to work on all those things. Now, this is not to freak yourself out or to start getting yourself all worried and anxious about things that haven't even happened yet. But the point is that if we have a greater awareness of the long-term consequences of our inaction, then it can help us to get more clear on what it is that we really want out of life and what we need to start doing to start moving in those directions. Now, I will just say as a quick side point here that I know there's a lot of uncertainty today and that there are a lot of unknowns about how things are going to develop and go forward in the future. But I just want to say that if you're someone that just kind of throws your hands up and say like, well, screw it, there's no point because the world won't even be here in 10 years and we have no future and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you can't believe that. Like, you can believe it. Like, it's obviously your choice if you want to, buy into a system of beliefs like that. But the thing is, like, that's not helping you and it's not helping anyone. And the thing is that even in the midst of great chaos, you can still thrive, like, regardless of external circumstances. And that is always the case. And what's more is that if you are willing to roll with the changes that come and just embrace the way that things unfold and be willing to always do your best anyway, even in the midst of a great uncertainty and chaos, you can actually thrive and also be in a great position to be of real service and benefit to others who may be struggling greatly during such times. So, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I just want to say that, like, regardless of all the uncertainty that we are facing today, like, that's also not an excuse to just throw your hands up and say, well, there's no point in me even having a goal or a vision because there won't even be a few. Like, I really hope that you don't buy into that system of beliefs. Anyway, the next point that I want to mention here that gets back to the whole discussion about feeling overwhelmed, about having a big goal, is that it makes a lot of sense and can be really helpful to break down your big goal or vision into smaller, manageable pieces that you can realistically see yourself carrying out every single day. When you break down your goal into manageable parts like this, it can seriously help to reduce all the overwhelm and resistance you may be feeling, which means that you have that much less of a reason to actually be procrastinating. Another little strategy that can really help is to give yourself deadlines. Now, they should be, again, reasonable and manageable, but the thing is that when you give yourself a deadline, like a definite set deadline to get something done, no matter how small it is, you're proving to yourself that you can show up and get the work done and stick to a schedule or a routine that works for you. But even more importantly, this is how you build self-esteem as you demonstrate to yourself that you are the kind of person that shows up every day and does what you say you're going to do in the time frame that you have laid out. The thing that you really want to remember, cliche as it may sound, is that the real joy in life comes from the process of growth and the journey towards becoming more. Because, yeah, it feels great to achieve a big goal, and we get this big rush and this big thrill when it happens. But if you've ever accomplished something significant, then you know that rush, that thrill, it doesn't last forever. And pretty soon, you start looking to how you can grow and expand even more. Because again, that's where the real enjoyment of life comes in. Ultimately, it is your natural, innate passion and enthusiasm that will really help you to overcome any resistance that you're currently facing and start taking like really dedicated steps towards a meaningful or important goal or aspiration so that you can really like make the most of your talents and gifts and have something amazing to contribute to the world. To that end, it can be really helpful to spend just a few minutes every day really just closing your eyes and getting into a meditative and imaginative state where you just vividly imagine and experience the kind of life that you could be living if and when you become the person who really commits to doing all those things that you really know that you want to be doing and that would serve your best interests to be doing. The more vividly that you can immerse yourself in this imaginative experience and really feel what and see and hear what it would be like to be in that kind of a life, then you really are becoming a powerful magnet for everything that you desire and the kind of life that you do want to live. And again, the more excitement and enthusiasm that you can generate and really sustain those feelings within you, that is really how you generate the energy and the willingness to move forward and to do so with confidence and poise. But a really important piece in all of this is that you really, again, have to be willing to look at all of the faulty limiting beliefs, all the negative ideas and garbage that you've been programmed with that negate all of the passion and enthusiasm and just natural motivation that you might otherwise feel. Nothing will kill your excitement and your willingness to move forward more than those voices, those negative voices in your head that are critical and judgmental and cynical. So this is why it's so important that you take time to do the deep inner work of identifying those voices and those beliefs and really working to get them cleared out. So I hope that this has helped you to understand more about the psychology behind why we procrastinate and what it can take to overcome it. We are so fortunate, though, to live in a time where there are so many very simple and effective techniques and modalities that can really facilitate this kind of deep belief change and help us to anchor in a more aligned and integrous identity where it becomes very easy and natural for us to just feel inspired and motivated and willing to take action on everything that we want to really be doing with our lives and that we know is going to help us to become the person that we know we were meant to be. And if you want more support in your own journey with overcoming resistance and procrastination, then be sure to click the card.co link in the description of this video to learn more about the work I do and how I can help you in that way. Together, we can help you start making more real progress in just a few short months than you may have made over the past few years. So again, I really hope that you have found this helpful, and thank you so much for watching if you've stayed with it till the end. And it would really mean a lot to me if you could give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And with that, I hope to see you in the next one.